In this video, we're going to look at alerts, confirms, and prompt boxes in JavaScript. Now, these aren't very commonly used anymore because there are more elegant solutions to be able to, first of all, collect data and display data to your user. But it's worth knowing that they're there, and it's worth understanding how they work and the synchronous nature of them. So we'll be looking at each one, and we'll be just going through and looking at how they work and creating some if statements and seeing what we can do with this. Because we might be using them later on in some examples to just quickly collect data from users so we can manipulate them and then tell users certain things. So the first thing is one that we've already seen, and this is an alert box. Now the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to create an external file for this tutorial. So I'm going to go ahead and create a script tag with an external source, and that's going to be boxes.js. I'm just going to call these boxes and refer to them as boxes. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new file and save this in the JavaScript directory, so boxes.js. And that's it. I'm not going to write any markup on the page or anything like that. We'll do everything now within boxes.js. And you can see if we head over to our browser, we have just a blank page, and we can see that the script is included in here. So what we're going to do now is look at a basic alert. Now this is a synchronous item that pops up and forces the user to click OK, then the rest of the code can execute. They're not the most user-friendly things to use, but they do have their place sometimes. So we've already seen these. This is just the alert function. So we call this function with a parenthesis, and we put the parameter as the string that we want to display in here. Now what we can actually do is we can actually include line breaks, so we'll just take a look at that in a moment. When I go ahead and refresh, you see that we get the page at localhost, which is the server I'm currently working on, says hello there. Okay, so when I click OK, the rest of the page runs and loads, and we're all good. Now if I wanted to include a line break here, I can do. I just do a \n, and then I go ahead and say new line, for example. And what this control character will do is it will allow the sort of new line to be placed without having to use any markup or anything like that. So it's basically a line break. So it's useful to know if you do need to line break within an alert. So that's an alert box. Now that's probably the most simple. What we're going to look at now is we're going to look at a confirm box, and we're also now going to sort of delve into variables and if statements and things like that. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a variable which stores a true or false value. Now, true or false values are booleans. So when I go ahead and create this variable, I'm just going to say var c equals confirm. Now beforehand, all we did was we did alert here. What we're now doing is we're storing the confirm answer, which is either yes or no, true or false, inside this C variable. So we're going to say confirm, are you sure? So let's take a look at what this does. So when I go ahead over to the browser and refresh, it says, are you sure? Okay or cancel. So basically yes or no. If I click cancel, nothing happens. If I click OK, nothing happens. But what has happened now is the variable that we saw here now holds a value true or false. So what we can do is we can go ahead and we can work out what has been entered here. Now I can go ahead and alert C. Now remember not to include a string around this, or you'll literally output the character C. If you just go ahead and alert C, you'll see that when I click OK, you get true. And when I click cancel, you get false. So what we could now do with this confirm box is we can use an if statement. And what this will do is it will check if C is true or false. So we can say if C alert you are sure, else alert you are not sure. So now what's going to happen is it's going to actually alert something that we want it to alert based on what we click. So when I click cancel, you are not sure. And when I click OK, it says you are sure. So this is a confirm box that you can use to base an action within these blocks on an answer that's given to your user, whether that be OK or cancel. Now the third type of sort of box we're going to look at is a prompt box, and it's basically used for input of information from a user. So again, I'm going to say var, but this time I'm going to say name equals, and I'm going to use the prompt function. So not the alert, not the confirm, the prompt function. Please enter your name. Now all we're going to do with this is we're going to say if, in fact, let's take a look at the actual prompt box first before we do anything with an if statement. Here we go. It says please enter your name. So I can go ahead and enter my name and click OK. Now the same thing has happened here as the last time, but name now holds a string value based on what I've entered into there. Now if there's no value, this will be null. So we can go ahead and sort of investigate this by typing alert name. So let's go ahead and say refresh. Now this has stopped at this point. Remember, it's a synchronous item or a synchronous piece of code, which means that the alert box that we have written next won't be run until this has finished. It's a blocking operation. So when I type in Alex, it says Alex. So we've alerted out the name variable which holds Alex. What we can also do is enter nothing, which says nothing here. And that's actually a null value. So what we can do is we can say if name doesn't equal null, alert hello space, and we concatenate on name. Now we'll be looking at this a little bit later, but what we can now do is refresh, type in Alex, hello Alex, refresh, type in nothing, and oh, it says hello. So let's take a look here. It will be an empty string then. So when I go ahead and refresh, there we go. So I've typed in nothing, and I think this is only if you click cancel, it will say hello null, you see. So what we need to really do is perform 2 checks here, but that's not too important right now. We're just sort of looking at the prompt side of things. Okay, so that concludes with the boxes introduction of sort of alert, prompt, and everything like that. They're not commonly used, and there are probably more elegant ways to do things, as in terms of markup on the page to take data, but sometimes they do have their uses. So it's just good to know that they're there and how you can use and manipulate them.